Good day, grade 12 students. How are you? We hope you are doing fine. In our previous home learning materials, we have learned about some of language features such as collocation, adjective order, adverb formation, and so on. Therefore, in our current video, we'll put those into use by writing a descriptive text. Before you are doing the assignment, let's learn further about what descriptive text is. Let's get started. We are going to learn 5 things from descriptive text. The first one is the purpose, continued with the generic structure. Then we have language features, example, and last but not least, additional information. The aim or purpose of descriptive text is to specifically describe or reveal a particular object, place, or person. In this case, the described referent is definite. For instance, we say, I would like to describe my house instead of I would like to describe a house. Just like report text, there are 2 parts in descriptive text structure. The first one is identification. This is where you will give a brief introduction to the object you are going to describe. And you will write or find this one on the very first paragraph. Right after identification, we have description, where you can start writing more about the object in detail. Some of you might question how to write the description part. There are 3 main things that you have to remember when you are composing the description. One is be concrete. When we are making a descriptive text, we are inviting our readers to use their senses. So it will be nice when you, as the writer, could give a very vivid or clear details so that everyone can feel, see, hear, or maybe taste and smell the object in their imagination. 2. Be expressive. In this case, you may use the different components you have learned to clearly express your impression or opinion about the object. For example, rather than saying her eyes are blue, you can write it down as her eyes are as blue as the ocean. Last advice is to be plausible or believable. Just because you have to make it clear and well detailed, that doesn't mean you have to exaggerate or oversimplify the fine points. So just keep it real. To write a descriptive text, use simple present tense as we are telling the factual state of the object. We can also use figurative language, adjective, adverbs, and so on to give a clear illustration, and lastly, specific nouns. Okay everyone, now we are in the example part and I'm going to read it for you before explaining it. My favorite teacher. My favorite teacher is my history teacher, and he is, by far, the best teacher that I have ever had. He has the ability to make a subject that many students find incredibly boring come to life through his enthusiasm and passion for history, and his love of being a teacher. Going to his lessons is something we look forward to, not read like we do most other lessons. This is the identification part because the writer is giving a very brief explanation about who he is going to describe. In this case, it's about his history teacher. Now let's continue. It's ever so funny to watch him get excited about something, which happens in every lesson. It's easy to know that he is getting excited because he begins bouncing up and down slightly in a way that no other 60-something-year-old would ever manage without looking completely ridiculous. He has to start with more and more gray streaks these days, springy hair that lines the edge of his growing bald patch. And the hair bounces up and down with him like thousands of tiny little springs. Then, he takes on his whole new persona, often going into role and becoming the character or figure he is talking about, doing the voices, the actions, and parading up and down the room gesticulating wildly. But all the while, there's a gentle bounce, bounce, bounce as though the springs are not just on his head, but on the soles of his shoes too. In this part, we have been in the description structure. And for the second paragraph, the writer is talking about the style and or the physical features of the teacher. You can see it through the phrases or sentences that I have changed into gold color. It's easy to know that he is getting excited because he begins bouncing up and down slightly. So it's the style when the teacher is getting excited about something. He has this part with more and more gray streaks these days, springy hair that lines the edge of his growing bald patch. So this is one of the physical features of the teacher, which is bald. He takes on his whole new persona, often going into role and becoming the character or figure he is talking about, doing the voices, the actions, and parading up and down the room, gesticulating wildly. It's also one of the style of the teacher when he is explaining something in the classroom. A teacher that doesn't take himself too seriously always will be a big hit with teenagers, although he is not afraid to impose his authority if he has to. I've only ever heard him properly shout once, although thankfully it wasn't me. But it is an experience that I would like to repeat. When he lost it, the room suddenly became more silent than I'd ever known it to be before. We all sat slightly paralyzed, not even brave to breathe too loudly, because hearing such a jovial and jolly little man lose his temper was a huge shock. It certainly had the right kind of impact though, because he's never needed to shout then. This is also the description part, and this talks about the trait or the personality of the teacher during teaching learning activities. So basically, he is very friendly or not taking himself too seriously when it comes in the classroom, but he will be very assertive when he thinks he needed it. Last paragraph. It is actually this teacher that I have to thank for my love of history. In his lessons, history does not mean copying out of textbooks and writing pages and pages of notes. History is alive. History is something tangible that you can see, hear, and feel, and we can live it through dressing up and acting out scenes or taking trips to important places of historical interest. And although he is getting on in years and may not be teaching for much longer, he will have an important place in history for many of his students, because there has never been a teacher able to bring a subject to life in quite the same way he does. This one is not a conclusion, this is still a description. But this one talks about the writer's personal view, about how he feels that his history teacher will have a special place in his heart. In additional info part, we are going to tell you the difference between report and descriptive text. The main difference lies in the scope. Report text scope is more general, while descriptive is more specific and personal. To put it simply, for instance, in report, we are giving an information about dog, while in descriptive text, we can write about my dog, Mickey. Or maybe you can also write a descriptive text about Candi Borobudur. However, instead of giving the general information about Candi Borobudur like the location or the site, you can write something about it from your point of view or impression as a tourist. That is the end of descriptive text explanation. Should you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact your respective teacher. We hope you are staying safe and healthy wherever you are, and see you in the next explanation video. Goodbye!